Today in the crypto market, we will go through Alex Becker life advice, Ansem vegetable ranking, and opinion of a market participant regarding dopamine. Without further ado, let's actually start. Recently, Alex Becker shared a post on X about life advice. And if you know his channel, he did not start with crypto. He had a channel on how to essentially do things as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, how to improve as a human being. And this post I really like, and I would want to go through it. There are two types of joys in life, true and false joys. If you live around false joys, you will feel highs, not joy. This will set you up to be miserable and have no idea why. Most of society has this problem. Here, how to know which is which and not be a depressed folk. A default type of thing is that immediate gratification joys. They're usually false ones. Joys that are delayed, they are usually the right ones that you should perceive. A false joy is something that gives you happiness by manipulating the chemicals in your head. Nothing about it is real. Nothing about it is actually something you enjoy. It's the correct set of buttons being pressed in your brains to cause a chemical dump. It's a very interesting thing because later in this post he's sharing, it's literally like press a button to get high. It's crazy. For example, as a young man say you see a pair of boobs for the first time. Pretty cool. Okay, now I get pen and paper and draw an extremely detailed picture of boobies. A young man might then simply keep returning to this drawn picture of boobies over and over. It's easier than going outside and approaching women, 100%, right? Same as watching porn. The experience isn't real. It's a piece of paper manipulating the boy's head and dumping sex chemicals all over it. Again, let's back up. It's literally a piece of paper with ink on it, and you're getting intense satisfaction from it. Main reason for that is because brain does not see the difference between the reality and something drawn or something on your screen, right? Could you any more clearly be manipulated by your poorly designed brain and its ancient reward system? So it's quite interesting, right? Brain does not see the difference between different realities like on screen and on paper as well. Maybe it was created in order to specifically get certain type of signal and understanding of the current reality, right? And not see others. Just a question. And at the end of it, does the boy get any real joy from this? Does he get the actual live joy of interacting and getting close to someone? Which is the point of the trigger that's being fired in his head. That's essentially the main thing that previously in before times, if you had these urges, you pretty much had to communicate, had to talk. Now you don't have to do it, right? No, absolutely not. What he gets is a hit of chemicals he would normally only be able to get from human connection. We definitely have lack of human connection with all the technology that we have currently. This ironically allows him to skip the connection part altogether. This actually separates him from interacting with others and his brain that optimizes itself to get this hit of chemicals more. It's very interesting. The more you go into this fast gratification type of behavior, the more brain is optimizing, because essentially our bodies and our brains, they're just optimizing for the behaviors, for the habits that we implement. That's why like your muscles are growing when you're going to the gym. The body just optimizes, like you like it sees you lifting heavy shit and just optimizes for you to lift it, right? The boy then keeps looking at these drawn boobs on paper and does so because he thinks it brings him joy. It feels good. He gets excited to do it. It's fun. Is it this joy? No. The result of this behavior has nothing but negatives. Its reward is a huge dopamine dump for doing nothing and slippery slope to an addiction that only hurts him. So you pretty much receive cheap dopamine when doing nothing, and your brain teaches itself to just continue to do that, right? And yeah, it does not help like longer term picture, right? And probably after a time you would end up in depression because nothing would be joyous and nothing would make sense to you. And that's where you want to go into dopamine detox. And Alex, I do honestly think that this is the best video that Alex ever produced. Video on YouTube by himself called Dopamine Detox. The trigger that is designed to push him to true joy, human connection, has been completely hijacked by a piece of paper with ink on it and driving him to make time for more drawn boobies and avoid human connection. This is obviously bad. Now back up. This isn't about boobies. This is a metaphor for all of false joy that people are so deeply attached to in our society. Alcohol, sugar, video games, eating, social media, porn, nicotine, caffeine. What is similar between all of them? I can ask you. What is the same? The same is that they are fast, cheap, gratitude, satisfaction ways, right? Eating, booze, gaming being the most deeply defended. It's very, very interesting. Eating, booze, gaming being the most deeply defended. See, whenever I don't do these things, people always fire back at me with balance is everything. Whatever I want to enjoy life, the type of life sounds miserable. I don't think that like balance life and work-life balance is just a piece of bullshit, piece of crap. Like the worst thing that I think human being can have, obviously it depends on the human being, we're all different. To me, is has the life of mediocrity. That's like purest, highest depression that can only be out there. I want to be on the edges, like always. Obviously, possibly on the better edge, right? But mediocrity it just hurts. And frankly, get it. If I didn't understand the difference in real joy versus false joy, I would think the same. Why on earth would you cut off joy? Things you love. People love their foods. They love the games. They love the booze. They secretly love the porn and social media addictions. But what is the harm? It's just a bit of balance, right? Okay, let's do 2 quick examples. Video games versus real life achievement for joy. People hate me when I tell them stop gaming or at least get it's an absolute retarded core hobby to have. Games are a drug perfectly designed to hijack our brain chemicals. That's one of the reasons I invest in them so much. It's like legal cigarettes with microtransactions that you can sell to kids. Cash cow. I 100% agree with this. I do believe that gaming is like selling heroin to 7 years old. And I have this seen myself as well. I understood it very, very well. I do think that I even have this addiction to a certain extent as well. Like if I play, I can just play. I can sit for 16, 17 hours, do nothing, just playing. And I would say like this is the type of drug that personally I experienced the most, right? And I do think that gaming is a real drug of 21st century because previously people, they were just drinking alcohol, and right now if you drink alcohol you're probably like looked at as someone weird and things like that, right? It's not that popular these days. I'm not sure like what type of people you're around, but I can say from what I see it's not that popular. At the same time, gaming is something that's more normalized, and realization that came to me recently is gaming is pretty much exactly the same thing as alcohol to the previous generations. We just have these things that, oh, it's not harmful for your health and things like that. In some cases, it's even worse. But if we step back, games are no different than the drawn boobies. If a computer generating patterns and truly work that replicates their feeling of growth, achievement, and creation for the player. It's a very interesting thing as well, because when you develop a character in the game, you get a certain feeling of achievement, but it's all false. Seriously, people get up excited to do tedious tasks in video games. Hell, The Sims is a simulation of our actual lives. People play the game to replicate doing the work actions to succeed in real life. I'm not sure if this is a politically correct thing to say, but have you seen these memes where it's like black guy from the streets, like in the gang selling drugs, right? And then he's coming home and he's saying, finally, I can rest. And he opens up GT San Andreas, right? It's a very, very funny thing, right? So and you can essentially do it with different games, with different people as well. And then the brain gives them the chemicals that are meant to be unlocked and motivate them for success and growth via real world success. And bam, 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 they're no different than the boy looking at boobies. They end up making huge sacrifices that should be going creating real joy for an artificial career. A lot of people are actually making sacrifices. People are sacrificing fucking marriages, a bunch of free time, their goals as well, to play games and achieve the goals in games. It's just an easy way to feel important as well. And I do believe that vision of the future, I don't understand like why elites don't see it yet, probably because they're fucking old. What I would do, like once I control this world, I would just replace all the basic jobs with AI. I will give people who don't want to work like a basic amount of salary, basic amount of money, so they can like order food every day, right? And I will make them gaming addicts. They will just be working, not not working. They will just playing in these realities, upgrading the characters, and just sitting there and playing and doing nothing. This is what I would do. I don't think it's next evolution. And I remember I was reading a paper several years back that was saying that the future, poor people would just be playing games. They would be just like in this simulation. And it's very, very interesting because remember I was sharing an interview of the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, who was saying that it's easier to actually replace people with AI in the countries that see population decline or that have like lower amount of people. In gaming, you pretty much give gaming, you give porn, you can add some wheat if you want, right? You give endless like fat food that you can just order and do nothing. And these people, they don't want to achieve, they don't want to fight, they don't want to create families. You pretty much replace the reality. And interestingly is that they are joyous. Like they feel a bunch of joy. And the only issue is that like the lifestyle that you will probably be living like this, it might be like a very, very long type of lifestyle, right? At the same time, you still consume. So these companies, they're making money from you, which is nice. And like you don't want to do any shit. So it's a very, very interesting setup out there. They work and work and work in these games, yet somehow keep feeling unfulfilled, alone, unsuccessful, and their life improves zero for all the work done. Gaming is very, very popular in the countries where life is shit, where it's kind of harder to essentially become like better and things like that. Where not hard, I would say, but just less opportunities because these are just bullshit excuses. This is again because of they are chasing false joy. Let's do food. I'm sure you see the pattern now though. The food is again drawn boobies. People stuff the face with sugar, junk, overeat, etc., etc. They won't give up the garbage eating habits or bend over backwards, trying to balance them in their life. Why? Artificial joy. The brain dumps happy chemicals when you eat a donut or binge eat. But what then happens? The joy leaves and you're left with problems and stress. Why? Stupid. Because the point of the brain triggers your focusing are to push yourself to nutrition, designed for a caveman world. Your brain doesn't get the fact you can manipulate this. Nutrition designed for a caveman world. Let's eat something sweet with a bunch of sugar. Let's eat something with a bunch of fat because I need energy to sustain for a long amount of time. We don't have this issue currently. Thus, you interpret you're confusing your brain with false triggers as joy, and in return, you are delivered misery and stress. It's fucking stupid. It's all drawn boobies. You have to take a step back and separate the chemicals. I should probably say chemicals. Things trigger from the point of the chemical triggers in the first place, which is Egypt, by the way, which is thought, by the way. The point of the dopamine trigger when the boy sees boobs is to push him closer to other humans, which truly brings joy. The point of the dopamine trigger when you play games is to push you closer to fulfilling work and growth, which truly brings you joy. The point of the dopamine trigger when you eat is to push you to consume healthy fuel, which gives you energy to enjoy life properly and feel good, aka joy. Interestingly, that food that's popular and kind of being pushed is the one that does not give energy but takes energy from you. If you eat something fat, like you don't have any energy in the first place. But if we reduce joy down to the trigger and not the point of the trigger, we go down the completely wrong path. You end up not close with other humans. You end up not doing fulfilling work or growing. You end up feeling sick, fat, and low energy. You in turn make huge sacrifices, or as better people call it, balance, or enjoying life, in order to enjoy manipulating your brain's triggers. And again, in return, you are delivered the opposite of what the trigger intended. How do we fix this? Fucking stop prioritizing your dopamine triggers, stupid. Look at the trigger you are craving. Then think 3 steps in advance and what the point of the trigger is. Then sacrifice and make room for the point. The point of the video game trigger is desire for success, creation, and growth. Skip the games and do that. Build a career you love. Become a badass person and contribute things that excite you for joy. The point of the drawn boobies trigger is to interact with the other sex and connect with people and have children. Skip the porn and do that. Work to meet your best friend, be a good partner, and build happy family for joy. The point of food triggers is to get energy that helps you live at your peak. Resist the cake, your child, and do that. Eat what allows you the best life and allows you to maximize living, not fucking eating you peak. We can do the same for all the other balanced choice people clean so deeply too. However, I feel you get the point. If you're doing something, ask yourself, am I sacrificing for the trigger or the point of the trigger? After I do this behavior, am I left with more or less in my life? Very, very interesting sentence. After I do this behavior, am I left with more or less in my life? Then stop being an absolute child and tell your brain no. We are not going to reward this addictive brain manipulation behavior. We are going to only sacrifice for true joys. Our brains are not designed for today's world. The triggers that used to point us in the right directions no longer work. You have to, like, if you don't want to do all this shit, just understand that there are people very, very well understanding how your brain works in the current world. And they are setting up these traps, they are designing them perfectly to make sure to suck up as much energy as they only can from you. To make sure to suck up as much testosterone as they only can from you. To make sure to suck up as much money as they only can from you. To make sure to suck up as more connection and as more healthy family setup as they only can from you. And the whole reason to control. The whole reason is to, like, I'm sounding like Andrew Tate currently. The whole reason really is to remove testosterone men that want to change shit, that are ready to die for the things that they believe into. That's the whole reason of this thing. 100 years ago, these triggers would lead you to your mate, a successful career, community, and health. However, because they are so archaic, they now lead you to despair and TikTok scrolling. TikTok is quite interesting as well, because I started to think about it when I read this article, that it's very, very similar to games, right? But like I would say for general population, TikTok definitely works better, because games, they kind of these traps for probably like a bit higher IQ people, right? Because with games, you at least have certain entry barrier and like general population, like largest revenue generating sector in mobile gaming are casual games, like where you are jerking off with some circles on the screen, right? So it's very, very stupid, like you don't have to do anything. It's just that for more sophisticated players, the nicer the game is, the more it makes sense, the more it will essentially draw this person into it, right? Into itself. But for general population, TikTok is even a better drug than essentially games in the first place. So yeah, I would say like TikTok is something very, very interesting. It's carefully designed. You scroll like in a casino. You don't know what you will essentially see next, and you're getting these dopamine hits. It's a very, very nice, crafty thing. Probably from Devil. You cannot let your triggers and caveman mind think for you. Whenever a person says, have some balance, or that life seems miserable, when defending trigger-based false joys, they are simply defending the weak, little addicted creature in their mind that is addicted to these metaphoric drawn boobies. If you're eating booze, games, etc. are important to you, you are no different than the creepy little boy sitting in his closet, wonking at a piece of paper with drawn boobies on it. I'm not saying give up or stop anything. I'm saying if you do it, at least realize what you're doing and why you are doing it. You are not getting drunk, eating cake, gaming for hours a day because it's important to you or something you truly enjoy in life. You're doing it because you're being controlled by brain triggers that are confused and being manipulated. By who and why? You're basically pressing a button to get high. Like, this is such an important phrase because in all the books, in all the scenery from before, like it's like rats in the cage. It's like rats. Do you know this thing that like rat in the cage had the button to like give some heroin water or something, right? It was drinking it and always it was eating it and it ate itself to death. However, when they build a nice environment for the rats, like social environments, things that they can do, like they can play, like fucking circles and things like that, and they gave some nice food as well, they stopped using heroin, which means that they were using it because they were bored. And when everything was alright, they were removing it. It's very, very interesting. You're basically pressing a button to get high. Our lives, by manipulation, but you need to understand this is your choice as well, because if you just say manipulation, that means that you're just fucking shifting responsibility, and this is something you should not be doing as well. Our lives are constructed and manipulated in a way, so we basically have to print a button. Like even the even to order some food, right? You press the button and you get high from food. Games, you press the button and you get high. Porn, you press the button and you get high. Very interesting. This is not joy. It's just manipulating your brain chemicals for pleasure. I encourage you to find joy via actually living versus hijacking exploits in how your brain works gives you feel-good chemicals. And one of the reasons I essentially shared this is because myself, I experience some of the behaviors shared here as well. And that's why like it definitely triggers some things in myself as well. Like I'm usually going on in life with sprints. So some sprints like at work, it's everything ideal and things like that, and then I essentially go back. And like my ideal case scenario is just steady race up that I was unfortunately not able to achieve for quite some time, right? One day I will just enter this steady race up and I will not exit. I just like this fast movement, but fast movement, it goes with corrections, right? The same thing as on the market. And steady movement, maybe it will come with age. Like I'm not sure on this thing. Vegetables, tier list from Ansem, right? Potatoes should be number 1, I think. They're just like potatoes is crazy nice. And if you think like it does not have anything, like it's not healthy, it depends on how you cook it in the first place. Cabbage, I love cabbage in some ways. Probably the way it's essentially being cooked in Eastern Europe, right? Because I'm not even sure like what type of cabbage things Ansem is eating in the US. When I was in the US, I was not eating like anything cabbage. Okra, I don't know what is it. Onion, I want to add way more onion because Andrew Tate, he was saying, and I think it's like scientifically proven, because a lot of like tough guys, they eat a bunch of onion, right? It actually boosts your testosterone levels. I would want to add some onions. Avocado, it seems like this lefty nerdy shit, right? But it's probably right. I'm not very good with like spicy food. I was not eating spicy. You know, over time I actually find out that it's better for you to just eat food that you grew up with, right? Because it kind of something that your body was constructed onto, right? It does not fuck with anything that you have currently. It definitely helps. I love bell peppers. Like I can just eat bell peppers. Cucumbers are nice as well. Let's see if I won't agree with something. Radish, I think, is a very nice thing, right? Carrots, fucking love carrots. Carrot juice as well. Brussels sprout, like first time I see this name in English, right? Beets are also nice, very nice. You can have beet salad in Eastern Europe, very popular as well. And last but not least, I'm bored and need dopamine hit. Hurry up and chill me something I can buy and chill that with instantly pump. And chill that will instantly pump, right? So you might say like, why the fuck you are creating a video on sharing some Erik Becker life advice, self-advice and things like that? There is a thought that is connected, that is buried within this. Crypto Banter yesterday, he was also checking out Ansem vegetable list, and I see this between different channels. I see it between different people, market participants. The market is bored at this stage. It's very important to understand this. It's very important to see this. Yet we hold. So people who are bored, or there is a range of people that essentially sold, right? And they are on the edge. They're checking out there and they're seeing like if we're dumping, if we're going up, and they're probably re-entering and then selling again and things like that. And I think that's very bad type of behavior for yourself in the first place. Just buy, just accumulate, just have nice entry points. And well, as mentioned, like I'm not going to say anything new. I think it's a very nice time to accumulate. I think it's a very nice time to buy as well. Let's see what the future will bring. It's hard to project narratives that will pump moving further. My bet is on meme coins moving further as well. I believe we just started, and I believe that most performance sector will continue to be the most performance sector, just from the point of view of market structure. How like everything else in the market is rigged at this stage. Speaking of alts, and speaking of the fact that it's still hard for people to buy memes, it's still hard for people to hold memes, it's still hard for people to hold them, it's easier for them to buy into alts. Yeah, it's such a nicely crafted, manipulative piece of shit from the point of view that when you're trying to make money in the new cycle by doing something that made money to people in the last cycle, you're usually getting fucked just because of the reason it's too easy. When there is a bunch of saturation, it does not work. And what they've done, what VC's done, they created this mechanism to take money from you. It's so smart, it's so clever. Like, definitely, I'm thinking if it was done, probably was not done on purpose, but yeah, like the person who created this manipulation, definitely someone who has seen through a bunch of cycles already. Like with these alts, it's a very, very nice manipulation. Thank you very much for watching this video. I will be seeing you tomorrow. Bye bye.